Yes, Stephen Browning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to take a short speech on this commencement as well. And I'd like to follow on in regards to the friends I have at Kaikoura, the electorate that I live in, that I've joined with when they have protested the direction that this bill and the direction that the government's going in terms of oil exploration. They had hundreds of people on the beach in that very small community. They basically had, in a petition, somebody from every household in that community saying that they did not want deep-sea oil exploration to go ahead that could actually risk their livelihoods, risk the things that their whole economy is based on in Kaikoura. And I just point out that the government seems to miss it, and the Minister has missed it as well when she's spoken and said about exploratory wells. The riskiest phase in drilling is when exploration is happening, because they don't know until they do that what is likely to go. The risk of blowout is worse in the exploration stage. And I'll just pop over to another area that's had exploration, and that's just off D'Urville Island, another part of Mairohi, over into the Tasman Bay. I negotiated with an oil company that wanted to drill off D'Urville Island and ultimately did. And I remember the Minister from Nick Smith actually got on there, and he was on that platform when they did do the exploration ultimately. That was in a much shallower area, but the risks even there are too high. And even following that negotiation, where we actually ended up getting a format where you could actually do decent environmental assessments, a sort of matrix that you would look at to check what the risks were in a marine environment. We got that developed out of that negotiation. There's no way I would sign off again in something like that, because what we found with that company, that's got a very good record in theory, that years before that they didn't disclose to us, they'd managed to pollute the Taranaki coast themselves with a much smaller oil spill than what we are actually really worried about here. But that spill as well, I think, covered or affected up to 15 kilometres of coast at the time. So these risks are very real, and if we get the companies that have been associated with the Gulf of Mexico coming over here thinking they can do the same thing, and as my colleague has pointed out, without the resources to support or back up any correction from a mistake in even just the exploratory part, we've got some real concern. But the people in Kaikoura, and go back to them, and they're actually further away from some of the main focus of that protest, which was actually closer to the Wairarapa, Wellington and the Marlborough Sounds, Clifford Bay and Cloudy Bay areas. Those people, as we've heard, were promised that they would have access to the process. Now that's been taken away from them, left with the council, maybe some of the iwi maybe, and we can hopefully rely on them, we certainly can from Kaikoura, to be very concerned and opposing. But that's not necessarily the case elsewhere in the country. For other councils that may been told porkies, as we were misled in terms of the one off D'Urville Island to some degree. So just want to add voice to the fact that the Minister doesn't know everything, maybe being misled by some of the officials as to where the risk lies, and this House certainly has been misled if we're listening to the Minister on that. So there's a major risk to... we're an island nation, and we've got a lot of coastline. The last thing we need is oil into our coastline. We don't need it in the Marlborough Sounds around aquaculture, and we don't need it down through the Kaikoura coast either. And if people on the government seats there have an issue, come and talk with me, come and meet me in my region, come and meet those people, and actually realise what they're concerned about, their livelihoods, what they're concerned about their local flora and fauna, the things that they're really proud of, the fact that they can drive the Kokura coast and see seals just off the beach. That's fantastic for the tourist industry. It's fantastic for other reasons as well. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Members, we come to the vote on the clauses. The question is that Clause 1 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. We move to Clause 2. First, we have the Minister's amendment to Clause 2 as set out on SOP number 360. The question is that the amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Mr. Chair. The question is that Clause 2 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr. Chairman, I move supplementary order paper number 359 dividing the bill.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. I will report this bill with amendment and so divided presently. Members, we now move to the copyright parallel importing of films amendment bill. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
The Honourable